when you're not using it.
Yes, sir.
I forgot to mention to both sides, one of our jurors mentioned he has a light sensitivity issue, and when you leave it on, it's distracting.
Yeah, I think it was the lights on the document camera, and I turned those off.
Well, I think he meant on the screen. When you leave a big white. Because the other day you guys didn't do that, and I don't think he complained again about that issue. It's not a complaint, it's a legitimate thing, but.
He was asleep part of the time anyway, so I don't know if he noticed it.
Okay. There's Mr. Massor. You ready? For the record, both assistant state attorneys are present, both defense counsel and Mr. Sievers. Is the state ready?
Yes, Your Honor.
Is the defense ready?
That's right, Your Honor.
Okay, bring them out. I'll ask our jurors again, did you follow my instructions not talk about the case among yourselves or with anybody else or look up any of the people or places involved? Even if you did so inadvertently, now would be the time to raise your hand and let me know. For the record, no jurors lifted their hand. Next witness.
State call Sandra Hoskins.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Can you please state your full name for the record?
Sandra Hoskins,
And how do you spell your last name?
Hoskins.
And Ms. Hoskins, what's your current occupation?
I am a clinical director at a medical practice.
And what was your occupation back in June of 2015?
Medical assistant,
And where were you working back then?
Restorative Health and Healing Center.
And is there a medical doctor associated with that medical center?
Yes, sir.
Who was the doctor?
Dr. Teresa Sievers.
And how long did you work for Dr. Sievers?
Over 7 years.
Do you know Mark Sievers?
Yes, sir.
Who is he?
He was one of my bosses.
He also worked for the medical practice.
Yes, sir.
Is Mr. Sievers in court today?
Yes, sir.
Can you please point to Mr. Sievers and identify him by the color tie he's wearing?
Pink.
May the record reflect the witness as has indicated the defendant.
Let the record so reflect.
What were your duties in the Sievers medical practice back then?
Rooming the patients, EKGs, vitals, and assisting Dr. Sievers.
And when you say assisting Dr. Sievers, did you provide on-site assistance when she was conducting a patient exam or patient interview?
Yes, sir.
Did she have patient visits scheduled for Monday, June 29th?
Yes, sir.
What time was her first visit scheduled for?
9 a.m.
And was it normal for Dr. Sievers to have visits scheduled at 9 a.m.?
Yes, sir.
And did she make those 9 a.m. visits or 9 a.m. Appointments?
Yes.
Did she make this 9 a.m. appointment on June 29th?
No, sir.
And was it normal for her to miss an appointment like that?
No, sir.
When she missed the appointment, what did you do?
I tried calling her.
And when you tried calling her, does she have like a cell phone or a house phone you were trying to call her on?
Cell phone.
Her cell phone? Did you get a hold of her on her cell phone?
No, sir.
I'm guessing you probably left her a message or something telling her to call back.
Objection, Your Honor, calls for speculation, leave it.
Overruled.
Did you leave a message or something and ask her to call you back?
Yes.
Did she call you back?
No.
When you were unable to make contact with Dr. Sievers, what did you do?
I called Mark Sievers.
And the same gentleman with the pink tie you identified earlier?
Yes, sir.
Were you able to get a hold of Mr. Sievers?
Via text.
And when you got a hold of him, did you tell him that Dr. Sievers hadn't arrived at work yet?
Correct.
And did he respond?
Yes.
And how did he respond?
Text.
And what was his response?
That he could not get a hold of Dr. Sievers either.
Did Dr. Sievers ever come to work that day?
No, sir.
At some point, did you learn that something had happened at Dr. Sievers' home?
Yes, sir.
What did Mr. Sievers, what kind of duties did Mr. Sievers have in the Sievers medical practice?
He would do the billing.
So he wasn't, at that time, he wasn't a doctor or a physician?
No, sir.
Who worked with the computers in the medical practice, keeping the computers running?
Mark Sievers and Curtis Wainwright.
We turn to the witness.
Defense.
No questions, Your Honor.
Is this witness to be released or retained?
She's free to go, Your Honor.
She can go, Your Honor.
You're free to go. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Next witness.
The state calls Detective Schuenemann to the stand. Nick Schuenemann.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you.
Would you state your name for the record, please?
Nick Schuenemann.
And would you spell your last name for our court reporter, please?
Yes, ma'am. Schuenemann.
And where are you employed?
At the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been employed with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
13 years, ma'am.
And in what capacity are you employed at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
As a crime scene detective.
Have you been a crime scene detective the entire time you've been at the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
No, ma'am.
When you originally started with them, in what capacity did you begin?
As a commissioned deputy sheriff.
Let's stop for just a moment and talk a little bit about your background. Can you give us a sense of your educational background?
Yes, ma'am. I earned a Bachelor's of Science degree in criminal justice from the University of Central Missouri. During my junior year in 2001, I went through the police academy and passed the Missouri Post or Police Officer Standards test. I became employed at the Johnson County Sheriff's Office in Johnson. In 2001, I finished my Bachelor's of Science degree in 2002 and met my wife in 2005 and moved to her hometown.
So you started in Johnson County and then became employed by Jefferson County?
Yes, ma'am.
Are they on opposite sides of the state of Missouri?
Yes, ma'am.
And when you moved to Jefferson County Sheriff's Office, did there come a time when you actually became a detective with the Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am, in 2009.
And after becoming a detective with the Sheriff's Office, did you take courses on investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
What type of courses would you take?
Numerous courses and everything from death investigations to fingerprints to trace evidence, blood stain pattern analysis, trajectory analysis.
Did there come a time when you began to work in the crime scene as a crime scene analyst for the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that?
2010.
And did you attend any training on crime scene
Yes, ma'am.
analysis before and while after assuming that role?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you just briefly tell the ladies and gentlemen of the jury some of that training?
It'd be advanced fingerprint analysis, trajectory, bloodstain pattern analysis, footwear pattern analysis, evidence collection, evidence processing, the use of chemicals and alternate light sources, and several others.
Do you have any sense of the number of hours that you have had in the training of crime scene analysis?
Approximately 1,497.
Do you have any certifications as a
Yeah.
crime scene analyst?
Yes, ma'am. I earned a international board certification through the International Association for Identification as a crime scene analyst.
In 2015, what were your duties with the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office?
As a crime scene detective, ma'am.
And as part of your duties, did you end up being assigned to assist certain Lee County Sheriff's Office detectives in an investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
When did you first become aware of that investigation?
If I recall, it was July 11th of 2015.
And was there a briefing at the sheriff's office regarding this investigation?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall approximately what time that briefing began?
On the following morning of July 12th, 2015, at approximately 4:30 in the morning.
And we don't need to hear the whole briefing, but what was the nature of the briefing?
It was in reference to assisting the Lee County Sheriff's Office conduct a death investigation where investigative efforts led to Jefferson County, Missouri for further investigation.
And were you going to be involved in the execution of a search warrant that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you recall where that search warrant was to be executed?
Yes, ma'am. In Hillsborough, Missouri.
And is that within Jefferson County?
Yes, ma'am.
And at that briefing, were you assigned a specific role?
Yes, ma'am.
So let's start with that search in Hillsborough. About what time did you arrive at the location to be searched?
It was early in the morning following approximately an hour following the briefing.
How far was that location, if you recall, from the sheriff's office?
It was a few miles, ma'am.
Now, we're talking about you're out to assist in the execution of a search warrant. Is that the residence of 8894 Chapel Hill Court?
Yes, ma'am.
And what is your process when you begin to participate in the execution of a search warrant as a crime scene analyst?
Yes, ma'am. When I arrive, I make contact with the personnel on scene to ensure that the either vehicle or structure or anything is free from any persons or items that could harm myself or others. I begin digitally capturing by capturing the structure and the surroundings with a digital image and or a video camera, and begin working from the outside in.
So you work from the outside in. So do you do your outside capture before you actually go into if it's a residence or a structure, before you go into the structure?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you follow that procedure in this case? Did you start from the outside and move in?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me show you what has been admitted into evidence as States Exhibits 33A, B, C, D, and E. If I may approach the
You
witness,
may.
Your Honor, they've been previously shown to defense counsel. I just want to start with 35A and B. What are we looking at in those pictures?
I'm sorry, ma'am, 35A and B?
Yes. I mean, did I say 35? 30?
Yes,
My
ma'am.
apologies. Let's start with 33A and B.
Yes, ma'am.
What are we seeing in 33A and B?
This is the outside of the residence of Mr. Wright, Mr. and Mrs. Wright.
And then the other photos that you're looking at, where are they photos of?
They are the interior portion of the same residence of the Wrights.
I am going to, if you would hand them back to me, I'm going to put them so the jury can see them and have you talk about them with us. 33A. What are we looking at in 33A?
Yes, ma'am, this is the exterior portion of the Wright residence.
And let me hand you a laser pointer for part of this. But let me start for a moment with 33B. What do we see in 33B?
Another side of the same residence.
Now, in 33B, we also see a silver car. Was that car later the subject of an execution of a search warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you 33C. What are we looking at in 33, 33C, D, and E that you looked at, 30C and D, the interior of the home. Are those fair and accurate photos of the inside of the home?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce 33C and D.
No objection.
We'll show them admitted.
33C, what are we looking at in 33C?
This is the interior portion of the aforementioned residence.
And can you, with this photo, give the jury a sense of where the bedrooms are in this residence?
Yes, ma'am. If my recollection is correct, this is the interior portion of the living room immediately entering from the front door. This is looking to the left, or my immediate left from the front door.
And do we, in 33B, see the front door?
Yes, ma'am.
And would you, with the laser pointer, indicate where the front door is?
Yes, ma'am.
So again, showing you 33C, I think you indicated it's as you enter to your left, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. This is approximately the area of the interior portion of that front door.
I want to show you 33D and ask if you can tell us where 33D is and what we're seeing.
This is a captured digital image of the interior portion of one of the bedrooms or the master bedroom of the structure.
Did you say one of the bedrooms or the master bed? I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear.
It is one of the bedrooms. I believe it was used as a master bedroom suite. It had an attached bathroom.
And 33E, what are we looking at in 33E?
This is the same master bedroom suite, just a different wall.
And there is a phone that we see on a nightstand. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you end up seizing that phone?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what's been introduced into evidence as 68. State 68. You could look at state 68.
Yes, ma'am.
Hold on a moment. Yes, sir?
Your Honor, can we make use of the Zoom on that piece of equipment for
Sure.
most of this stuff?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I'll instruct the state to do so.
Thank you.
Give me just a moment, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
Zoom seems to have disappeared. Yeah, there we go, thank you. Is this, I have just zoomed on 33E. What are we seeing as I've zoomed in on 33E?
Ma'am, this is a captured digital image of a nightstand beside the left-hand side of a bed within that same room, showing various items atop said nightstand, including a mobile telephone.
And now referring to Exhibit 68, which you have in your hands, what is Exhibit 68?
This is a package containing the cell phone.
So 68 is the actual cell phone that was taken from the bedside that we see in 33E, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, after you completed the Your Honor, if you give me just a moment.
Yes, ma'am.
Your Honor, if I could ask the clerk for the photos 56A through G. Maybe they're off. Thank you. Right now, I'm going to hand to you what's been marked for identification as States Exhibits 56E, F, and G. Do you recognize what States Exhibits 56, E, F, and G are?
Yes, ma'am.
What are they?
They are printed digital images that I captured from within an apartment at 650 Old Highway 141, apartment I, Ida, in Fenton, Missouri, Jefferson County.
And was that a search warrant that was executed on June 13th?
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, July 13th.
Yes, ma'am.
Are those, do those photos accurately reflect portions of what you found inside that particular apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce States Exhibits 56, E, F, and G. I don't have them.
No objection.
We'll show them admitted.
Detective, I'm going to show you the photos while the jury can view them so you can describe to the jury what we're seeing in each photo. I'm going to start with 56A. Let me unzoom. What are we seeing in 56A?
The exterior of apartment 650 Old Highway 141, Fenton, Missouri.
Can we see in this photo which particular apartment to which, where the search warrant was executed?
I do not recall.
I want to show you 56G. What is 56G?
Yes, ma'am, is a printed digital image of the interior portion of apartment I.
So this is the apartment within that larger building we were just looking at where you were executing the search warrant?
Yes, ma'am.
And we see, can you just, Officer Pointer, is there a trash can or a trash bin in that area that we can see?
Yes, ma'am.
Where is that?
Right here, ma'am.
And did you look inside that trash bin?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what's in evidence is 56F. What are we looking at in 56F?
A downward view inside the aforementioned trash can.
So that, the view of inside this trash can, and let me just zoom in a little bit. The view inside this trash can that we see here
Yes, ma'am.
is the same trash can that we saw in 56G.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And as we look at 56G, is this the condition in which you found the unit when you entered it?
Yes, ma'am.
So did you move anything in this room?
No, ma'am.
I want to show you 56C and ask if you can tell us what 56C is a digital image of.
It appears to be a luggage ticket bearing the name Sievers Mark D.
And where was that luggage ticket found?
From within the bottom portion of the aforementioned trash can within the kitchen.
So the trash can that we see here, the black trash can
Yes.
in 56G,
Yes, ma'am.
this was found within that black trash can.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what has been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 55. Is that particular claim ticket that was in that trash can, did you seize that ticket?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could take a minute to look at Exhibit 55 and let me know if that particular claim ticket that was seized is contained within Exhibit 55.
Yes, ma'am.
And were there, before you take, your gloves are off, that's okay. Before you take your gloves off,
Sorry, ma'am.
that's okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Are the other items that we see in State's Exhibit 56C, the digital image, are those also contained within 55?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce State's Exhibit 55.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
I want to show you what is in evidence as 56B. Let me just zoom this back out. And ask if you can tell us what we are looking at in 56B. 56B as in boy, or Bravo. 56B.
That is a printed digital image of an image I took from the interior portion of 650 Old Highway 141, apartment I, Ida.
And 56D, was this also taken from that particular apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
And we see in 56B on the far left-hand side about middle way up, a letter.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that the letter that we see in 56D?
I do not recall, ma'am, I'm sorry.
I want to, and let me just, zoom for the jury. I don't think the Zoom is going to work for that particular one. I now want to show you what's been introduced into evidence as,
Can I have both sides approach for a moment? We'll show 56B admitted.
show you what's been introduced into evidence as 56E. What are we looking at in 56E?
A printed digital image of a printed digital image located
So
with.
you took a photo of a photograph found in the unit, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And this particular photograph was found within the unit that you were, in which you were executing the search warrant,
Yes, ma'am.
and that was Unit I.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, on July 15th, did you end up executing a search warrant on a car?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what has been marked for identification as States Exhibits 34A and B. If you could look at States 34A and B and let me know what they are.
Yes, ma'am. They are printed digital images of the exterior portion of a vehicle prior to the execution of a search warrant.
And is this the photo, is this the car that we saw when we looked at the digital image found in 33B?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce. State moves to introduce at this time 34A and B.
We'll show them admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
A and 34B. And is this the area in which the search warrant was executed? In other words, was the car searched inside this structure?
Yes, ma'am.
And where is this structure?
10198 Business Highway 21, Hillsborough, Missouri, 63050.
I think we've introduced those, so let me hand them back to the clerk. I want to show you what has been marked for identification as States Exhibit 89.
and ask if you can identify State's Exhibit 85.
Actually, you know, Your Honor,
If we could wait just a moment. I'm looking for a different exhibit at this moment, Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
You could just leave that sitting up there. I want to hand you what's been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 43. And ask you, what is State's Exhibit 43?
It is the original packaging for item 310-88, one black colored Garmin GPS device.
and where was that particular Garmin seized?
From within the vehicle during the search warrant.
So within that silver vehicle that we saw in front of Chapel Hill Court and then we see in that warehouse structure?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, after seizing that, did you end up participating at a later date on August 25th in another search warrant, this one at 10154 West Briar Drive in Cadet, Missouri?
Yes, ma'am.
And where is that? Where is Cadet, Missouri?
It is within Washington County, Missouri.
How far is that from the Chapel Hill Court address, if you know?
I don't recall, ma'am.
Approximately.
I don't recall.
I want to show you what have been marked for identification as State's Exhibits 35I through 35P. If you would just look at those for a moment, please,
Yes, ma'am.
and then let me know if you recognize them.
Yes, ma'am.
Were these photographs that were taken by you outside of the residence at 10154 West Briar?
Yes, ma'am.
They accurately reflect what you saw on that day?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce State's Exhibits 35I through 35P.
No objection.
Show them admitted.
Let's just step back for a moment and talk about the execution of this search warrant. You spoke earlier about how you go about executing a search warrant with your working from the outside in. Did you use that same procedure when you executed the search warrant on West Briar?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you recall about what time you arrived?
No, ma'am.
When you started, let me show you what's in evidence as, let me gather those. When you started on West Briar, you started by photographing the exterior?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me show you what's in evidence as 35A. What are we looking at in 35A?
The exterior portion of the cadet residence.
And in 35B, what are we seeing?
The opposite side of the same residence in Cadet, Missouri.
So we're just looking on the two, we're just looking at the two various sides of the same residence?
Yes, ma'am.
Were there vehicles that were outside of the residence?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what's now in evidence as 35I. Was this one of the vehicles that was outside the residence?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you look inside that vehicle and take digital images?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what is 35J. What are we looking at in 35J?
It is a printed digital image captured of the open rear left passenger door of of the previous vehicle of that vehicle. Yes,
So
ma'am.
it's the opened left rear door, is that what you said?
Yes,
for
ma'am.
What's it states 35I?
Yes, ma'am.
And when I show you 35K, what are we looking at?
That is the opened right rear door of the same vehicle.
And 35L, what are we looking at in 35L?
The digital image that you showed me of the open left rear door displayed a backpack between the front driver's seat and the rear passenger seat on the floorboard. Yes, ma'am.
So in
And-
35J, the image we see in 35J of that backpack?
Yes, ma'am. And that is an image of that backpack removed from its location.
Was there more than one vehicle around that residence, by
Yeah.
that residence?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to show you what is 35M. What is 35M?
A printed digital image of a blue minivan.
And did you also take images from inside that particular minivan?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you 35N. What are we looking at in 35N?
The rear passenger compartment of the blue minivan.
I want to show you what's in evidence is 35P. What are we looking at in 35P?
35P is a digital image of a cooler that was located within the rear passenger compartment of the blue minivan.
So when we were looking at digital image States Exhibit 35N, using your laser pointer, can we see the cooler that is reflected in 35P?
Yes, ma'am, it is right there.
And 35O, what does 35O reflect?
The interior portion of that same cooler located from within the passenger compartment of the blue minivan.
So when you took out the cooler that we see in 35N from that back seat, and that's reflected in 35P, it was not empty, it had items in it,
Yes, ma'am.
and these were the items that were contained within it.
Yes, ma'am.
After completing your outside digital recording, did you move inside?
Yes, ma'am.
Actually, let me go back for a moment. The items that you took from the car and the van, did you at that time take them into custody? Did you at that time seize them?
I do not recall.
Well, let me show you, as you continued your digital assessment, let me show you what's been marked as for identification as States Exhibits 35C, D, E, F, G, H, and Q. You can take a moment and look at those and let us know what they are.
Yes, ma'am.
And what are those items?
Printed digital images from the interior portion of the Roger Shoemaker residence.
And do they fairly reflect what you saw that day when you were executing the search warrant on August 25th of 2015 for the various locations?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce state's exhibits. 35C, 35D, 35E, 35F, 35G, 35H, 35Q.
Any legal objection?
There you are.
We'll show them admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
I'm going to show you what is in evidence as 35C. What do we see in State's Exhibit 35C?
The living room kitchen of the cadet residence.
And what do we see in 35D?
The floor and walls and contents of one of the bedrooms within the cadet residence.
And I want to show you 35E. Is 35E a close-up from that same photo, 35D?
Yes, ma'am.
And what do we see in 35E?
A pair of black, white, and lime green shoes.
Showing you 35F. What's reflected in 35F?
The interior portion of a bathroom within the cadet residence.
And there is a phone that's located on that counter. Do you see that?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you able to identify the name of the type of phone?
I do not recall, ma'am.
But the picture would reflect the name of the phone.
Yes, ma'am. It appears to be an Alcatel AT&T phone.
I want to show you 35G. What are we looking at in 35G?
A image of a closet with two doors within one of the bedrooms of the cadet residence.
Now, it looks like we're seeing two sides of the closet. Is it one continual closet with two doors? Is that what we're seeing?
Yes, ma'am.
And I want to show you 35H. What is 35H a photo of?
A red Budweiser t-shirt that was located within the closet.
So was that shirt, if you could use your laser pointer, taken from a particular side or area of this of the closet we see in 35G?
I do not recall, ma'am.
And 35Q, what are we looking at in 35Q?
A nightstand next to the bed in the same bedroom as the closet that you just showed me, ma'am.
So this is a nightstand beside the bed in the room that had the closets we saw in 35G, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, using the laser pointer, were there any shoes that were around that bed that we could see in this particular photo?
Yes, ma'am. Right here.
And did you find any sand near those shoes?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
And did you collect that sand?
Yes, ma'am, I did.
Some of the items that we see in the dresser or the nightstand. Did you determine if any of them were hammers?
Yes, ma'am.
Was more than one a hammer?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what has been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 42. What is State's Exhibit?
Ma'am, it is the original packaging for item number 310-108, one pair of black, blue, and lime green tennis shoes.
Are those the shoes that were reflected in the photograph we saw in 35D and then the close-up in 35E?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could take those out and just hold them up for the jury, please.
May I stand, Your Honor?
Yes, sir. And what number is that again, State?
That I just handed him, Your Honor?
That he has, yes.
That he has in his hands, he would have 42. Those are State's Exhibit 42, reflected in photos 55E and 55D. D is in Dutch. And this is State's Exhibit 42. Thank you. Put it back in the bag. I want to hand you what is in evidence as State's Exhibit number 39. And you know, you may want to leave the gloves on for just a few minutes. State's Exhibit 39 that's in evidence, ask you what State's Exhibit 39 is.
It is the original packaging for item number 310-120, one red-colored Budweiser T-shirt located hanging within the master bedroom closet.
And is this that T-shirt that's contained within State's Exhibit number 39?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would just open it and show it to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
You could put it back in. And again, your packaging reflected it was taken from the master bedroom closet. Don't take your gloves off yet. Or if you need a new set, you can put a new set.
Thank you, ma'am.
I want to show you what's been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 41. And ask if you can, I'm going to take these and move these.
Yes, ma'am.
And ask if you can identify it.
It is the original packaging for item number 310-122, one white-colored wicking T-shirt with V-neck located hanging within the master bedroom closet.
And if you would packaging and display it to the jury.
Yes, ma'am. Your Honor, may I stand?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Your Honor, may Detective Schuenemann step down in front of the jury as the state wants to ask him some specific questions about that particular shirt?
Yes, ma'am. You may step down, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Counsel from the defense needs to move. You may as well.
Thank you, Your
On that particular shirt, is there a neck tag that we see? If you would show that to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury, and perhaps walk up and down so that all can see it. Does that shirt also have an emblem on its sleeve? And again, if you would display that for the members of the jury, and again, walk up and down so that all members can see it. And which sleeve of the shirt is that on?
The left man.
Thank you. If you would resume your seat. Thank you. And again, if you could let us know where you actually seized that particular shirt.
Within the closet of the master bedroom of 10154 West Briar Drive, Cadet, Missouri.
I want to show you what has been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit number 50. What is State's Exhibit number 50?
It is the original packaging for item number 310-112. One black and tan hanging sign located on a vertical side of a shelf in the kitchen area of 10154 West Briar Drive, Cadet, Missouri.
And if you could just remove that from its packaging and from where you are, show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And I want to show you State's Exhibit 35C when you have a moment, when you're, on 35C, do we see where that particular item that you were holding up from State's Exhibit 50, that plaque, do we see where it was located in the residence?
Yes, ma'am.
With the laser pointed, would you show the ladies and gentlemen of the jury?
Right here.
I'm gonna zoom back out. And if you would again show them, as I've zoomed it back out, where it is within the residence. I'll hand you what has been marked for evidence as State's Exhibit 53. What is number 53.
Ma'am, this is the original package for item number 310-104, one black and silver AT&T Alcatel cell phone and charger from the bedroom counter of 10154 West Briar Drive, Gazette, Missouri.
And is that the phone that we saw in State's Exhibit 35F?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm not going to ask you to open it. Move to introduce, Your Honor.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
I want to show you what's been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 52. If you could tell us what State's Exhibit 52 is.
Well, it's the original package of evidence item number 310-113, one black North Face backpack.
And if you could look inside and if you could just display it for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury from where you're seated, or from where you are located. And is that the backpack that you took from the, that we saw displayed in State's Exhibit, both State's Exhibit 35J
Yes, ma'am.
and State's Exhibit then 35L?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's what's contained in State's Exhibit 52.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to hand you what is in evidence as State's Exhibit number 40, and I'll take.
May I see your?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
And what is State's Exhibit number 40?
The original packaging for item number 310-118, one white plastic vinyl cooler.
And is that the cooler that you found in the vehicle we see in State's Exhibit 35M?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the cooler that we see in the back seat of 35N?
Yes, ma'am.
And the cooler we see in 35P
Yes, ma'am.
and 35O?
Yes, ma'am.
If you would just take it out for the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to see. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. On August 27th of 2015, did you have occasion to go to a facility called the Doe Run facility?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what's been in evidence as 36A and then marked for identification as 36B through O. That you look through State's Exhibits 36A through O, but particularly B through O, and ask if you can let us know what we see in those particular exhibits.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
And what do we see in those photos of those 36A through O?
The exterior of and pathway to the exterior of a dough run recycling plant and the pathway through the hallways into the locker room or decontamination area.
And do those photos fairly show what was captured digitally in them?
Yes, ma'am.
For as that appeared on August 27th, 2015.
Yes, ma'am.
At this time, State moves to introduce 36B through O. B as in boy through O as in Oscar.
No objection, Your Honor.
We'll show them admitted.
Permission to publish.
You may.
Now, you were at the facility executing a search warrant, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Let me start with 36A. What is 36A, a photo of?
The exterior portion of the dough run recycling plant.
Where is generally that dough run recycling plant located? Is it in the middle of a city? Is it out in the country? Where is that plant generally located?
It was a unurban area.
Did you say unurban?
Yes, it was a middle of nowhere, Missouri, ma'am.
I'm going to show you these photos, and I'd like you to walk the jury through what they're seeing as we go through these.
Yes, ma'am.
36B, what are we looking at in 36B?
One of the hallways leading to the locker room or decontamination area.
36C.
Another hallway or area going through this campus.
36D.
Another area of locker rooms and decontamination areas.
Were any of these lockers connected to an individual Jimmy Ray Rogers?
3 of them were.
When we see lockers that were connected to him, would you point those out for the or alert the ladies and gentlemen of the jury that they appear in the particular photo at which we're looking?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. 36E.
Yes, ma'am. I believe two of his lockers are visible within this digital image.
And generally, where would those lockers generally be in this visual image? If you could use the laser pointer and somewhat alert the ladies and gentlemen of the jury to the general area.
These two end lockers right here.
And again, if you could just point to them one more time. I'm going to show you what's in evidence now is 36F. Is that a close-up of those lockers you were just pointing us to?
Yes, ma'am.
And 36G, is that a close-up of the tape that we see in 36F?
Yes, ma'am.
What do we see in 36H?
The bottom flooring of the interior portion of one of those two lockers.
One of the two lockers we saw just a few minutes ago in 36E.
Yes, ma'am.
And what are we seeing in 36I?
The opened adjacent locker.
Are these, and only if you know, was this an area in the dough run plant that was considered an area of contamination or not an area of contamination?
I don't recall. It's a locker room. I'm not sure where they do their full decon or the levels of decon that they have to do within that plant. This was one of the many locker rooms.
I want to show you what has been introduced into evidence as 36J. What are we seeing in 36J?
Another area for decontamination.
And 36K. What do we see in 36K?
A bin within the decontamination area or locker room containing several blue jumpsuits.
I want to go back. You said a bin in the decontamination area. Is that what I heard you say?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to take you back to 36J. Can we say the particular bin we saw in 36K in 36J?
Yes, ma'am, right here.
So this is a close-up of that bin that we saw in 36J.
Yes, ma'am.
What is 36L?
One of the restrooms in the locker room. Or the
And what's contained in that restroom area?
normal restroom apparatuses and fixtures, sinks, toilets, showers.
I want to show you State's Exhibit 36M. Where was this photo taken?
Within that same restroom area.
So within what we saw in 36L,
Yes, ma'am.
you found 36M.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to show you what's in evidence as 36N. What are we looking at in 36N?
Another locker within the locker room decontainment area.
And 36O.
The same locker with the door opened.
Now, was there a particular, I asked, were these lockers that were associated with Jimmy Ray Rogers?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that why you were photographing them?
Yes, ma'am.
And so 36O, what are we looking at?
A locker that was associated with Jimmy Ray Rogers.
And that is the same locker that we saw just a moment ago in 36J. N.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, while you were at that facility, let me show you what's been introduced into evidence as State's Exhibit 44. Were samples of the jumpsuits or the coveralls that were used at the Doe Run plant provided to law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could just look into it, and I don't need you to take it out right now, but if you could just look into State's Exhibit 44.
Yes, ma'am.
And what is in State's Exhibit 44?
One open box contained blue-colored latex gloves provided by Doe Run and a blue jumpsuit.
And were there two jumpsuits that were provided by Doe Run?
Yes, ma'am.
And are they both contained within State's Exhibit 44?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to hand you what is in evidence as State's Exhibit 51. Let me take that box back from you. Did there come a time when Detective Downs handed to you items that he had collected roadside?
Yes, ma'am.
I want you to look at State's Exhibit 51 and let me know what's in State's Exhibit 51.
Yes, ma'am. From the exterior, it appears to be my original packaging of item number 310-128. One pair of damaged dark blue colored overalls located near the roadside by Detective Downs. May I ask the answer?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
If you could look at it and just pull out just a little bit. And again, is that the damaged color overalls that were provided to you by Detective Downs?
Yes, ma'am.
And are the blue latex gloves also in that box?
I'm not sure, ma'am.
There aren't any, are there? It's just the coveralls, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I've just handed you what's been introduced into evidence as State Exhibits 38A and B. What are State's Exhibits 38A and B?
38A is the original packaging of item number 310-184, one gray colored plastic Alcatel cell phone case located roadside by Detective Downs. And State's exhibit item number 38B boy is the original packaging of item 310-185, one black clear plastic cell phone face located roadside by Detective Downs.
And when those were provided to you from Detective Downs, did you put them into packaging, seal them, and prepare them for being sent to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you do the same with all the evidence that you collected for every search warrant or every time evidence was received? Did you prepare it package it for transport to the Lee County Sheriff's Office?
Yes, ma'am.
If you could just take out the 2 items that are contained in those, thank you, and just show them briefly to the jury.
Ma'am, which one would you like me
I
to
don't-
do first?
Just let us know which one you're starting with first.
Yes, ma'am. Item number 310-184, State's Exhibit 38A Adam. Is it one gray colored plastic Alcatel cell phone case. The next item is going to be item number 310-185, one black clear plastic AT&T cell phone face located roadside by Detective Downs. State's Exhibit item number 38B Boy.
Now, I know you testified that you were at the Doe Run facility on August 27th, but I want to go back to August 25th. On August 25th, did you have an occasion to take buccal swabs from Jimmy Ray Rogers and Taylor Shoemaker, as well as to take a photograph of Jimmy Ray Rogers?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to hand you what's been marked for identification as State's Exhibit 54, 54, excuse me, State's Exhibit 54. What is State's Exhibit 54?
It's the original packaging for item number 310-130, one paired cotton swabs containing Taylor Shoemaker's buccal standard.
What is a buccal swab and how do you take it?
The buccal portion of a buccal swab is a swab containing a DNA sample or potential DNA sample from the interior portion of the human mouth within the area, more specifically between the teeth and the cheek within the left and right areas of the mouth. That area is referred to as the buccal, B-U-C-C-A-L. That area contains soft tissue along with saliva, which would provide a good sample for DNA.
So explain to the ladies and gentlemen of the jury how you actually collect that buccal swab.
What's used is a paired sterile swab. The long Q-tips that the doctor sticks up your nose whenever they think you have the flu or the strep, or they're clearing out your ears. It's a paired cotton swab with a wooden handle.
And do you ask the person to open their mouth? What do you do?
Yes, ma'am. You ask the person to open their mouth, and you keep the paired swabs paired so they're collected at the same time in the same manner and obtain samples.
And after you obtain the samples, what do you do with the swabs?
Put them back into the envelope in which you received the sterile packaging of the swabs, and they are put inside another envelope inside of another envelope.
So they are kept sterile and not contaminated with anything else? Is that what I'm hearing?
They're no longer sterile as soon as they are removed from the sterile field of the packaging. However, cross-contamination is not something that we want happening. So we take precautions to assure that cross-contamination or even biological material leakage would occur from the packaging.
So is that why you put the package in the package before you package it?
Yes, ma'am.
And did you follow that process with Taylor Showmaker?
Yes, ma'am.
And is that the buccal swab that you used with Taylor Showmaker, States Exhibit 54?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce States Exhibit 54.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
You indicated you also did some processing of Jimmy Ray Rogers. Did you take a photograph of him at that time?
Yes, ma'am.
I'll show you what's been marked for identification as States Exhibit number 92. What is States Exhibit number 92?
A printed digital image of Jimmy Ray Rogers.
And does this photo fairly and accurately reflect Jimmy Ray Rogers on August 25th of 2015?
Yes, ma'am.
And where was that photo taken? I mean, generally, was that in Washington County? We've heard a few counties. Where was that photo taken?
Yes, ma'am. This image was captured in Washington County, Missouri.
And was he in custody at the time that photo was taken?
Yes, ma'am.
Move to introduce States Exhibit 92 into evidence.
No objection.
We'll show it admitted.
Your Honor, if you could give me just a moment.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, we'll go ahead and take a restroom break for the morning. Please don't talk about the case among yourselves with anybody else or look up any people or places involved, and we'll be with you momentarily. Please be seated. We'll be in recess for 5 minutes or so. Sir, if you need to step down and use the restroom, you may do so as well.
Thank you, sir.